Captain Ibrahim Traoré, distinguished military officials, members of the Burkina delegation, representatives of the African Union, members of the Parliament, and the people of Jamaica watching this historic moment. I stand before you today not merely as the Prime Minister of Jamaica, but as a man humbled by the weight of history and by the responsibility of acknowledging a truth that has lingered for far too long in silence. Today is not a day for politics. It is not a day for rehearsed lines, carefully crafted press statements, or diplomatic posturing. Today is a day for courage, a day for reflection, a day for an apology that carries not just words, but substance, an apology valued not only in the currency of dollars, but in the currency of justice, dignity, and humanity. For years, the world has watched as the people of Burkina Faso have struggled against the weight of external pressures, unfair geopolitical manipulations, and centuries-old structures designed to keep nations like yours small. For too long, many of us, directly or indirectly, stood on the sidelines, complicit in silence, benefiting from the imbalance of power that stripped Africa of her voice, her resources, and her dignity. And for that, I say, as the Prime Minister of Jamaica, we were wrong, profoundly wrong. This apology is not performative, it is not symbolic, it is backed by action. Jamaica, for the first time in its modern history, is making a $600 million reparative commitment to the government and people of Burkina Faso. A gesture not born out of pity, but out of moral clarity, historical accountability, and the understanding that reconciliation without restoration is an empty word. This is why I stand here today before the world to deliver a formal, unequivocal apology to President Ibrahim Traoré and the people of Burkina Faso. Your nation, under your leadership, President Traoré, has become a symbol of courage in an age where silence often masquerades as diplomacy. You have chosen to walk the hard road, the road of sovereignty, dignity, and self-reliance, a road that many warned would be lonely and unforgiving. But instead, what we have seen is the emergence of a nation unwilling to be dictated to, unwilling to be carved into someone else's geopolitical chessboard. And for that, you have earned not only the respect of your people, but of millions across the globe who watch in quiet admiration. I speak to you as the head of a small Caribbean nation, one that has its own history of oppression, exploitation, and colonial entanglement. Our people, like yours, were made to believe for generations that our destinies could only be written by foreign hands. We were told to be grateful for crumbs while our labor, our lands, and our future enriched others. We were told to be silent, but silence does not heal wounds, it only buries them deeper. And buried wounds, as history has shown us, do not disappear. They fester, they rot, and eventually they force their way to the surface. The story of Burkina Faso is not far from the story of Jamaica. Two nations that stood on the periphery of global power, two peoples who inherited chains they did not forge. But there comes a time when history demands accountability, not from those who inflicted the wound alone, but also from those who stood by and watched. There comes a time when moral responsibility must outweigh political convenience. And that time for Jamaica is now. When I look at what your nation has endured, the economic blockades, the disinformation campaigns, the pressure to conform to external dictates, I see reflections of what so many of us have suffered. But where many have bent, you stood. Where many whispered, you spoke. And where many retreated, you advanced. That courage deserves more than applause. It deserves tangible solidarity. In the corridors of power across the world, there is an unspoken truth. Africa was never poor. Africa was made poor through structures designed to extract wealth, through policies that punished independence, and through narratives that painted resistance as recklessness. These structures did not exist in isolation. Many of our post-colonial nations, including my own, were forced to navigate and sometimes cooperate with systems that perpetuated that injustice, not always willingly, but undeniably. This is why today is not about Jamaica rescuing Burkina Faso. It is not about charity. It is about facing our own complicity in a global economic order that has enriched some at the expense of many. It is about acknowledging the years of silence, the years when we did not speak loudly enough as nations like yours were cornered and punished for daring to be free. It is about repair. $600 million is not enough to repay centuries of injustice. It will not restore every stolen dream. It will not erase every indignity, and it will not heal every scar. But it is a beginning, a tangible, accountable beginning, a step towards a new relationship between Jamaica and Burkina Faso, between our peoples and our futures. This commitment will not come with hidden clauses, nor will it be dressed as foreign aid. It will come as an unrestricted reparative fund to be used at the discretion of your government and your people. It will not come with the language of donors, but with the humility of partners. It will not be a handout, but a hand extended in respect. When we examined our trade history, our diplomatic positions, and our participation in international forums, we could not escape the uncomfortable truth that too often we positioned ourselves as silent beneficiaries of a world order that was built on Africa's suffering. We spoke about solidarity, but rarely acted with courage. And so this apology is also a mirror for Jamaica itself to look at who we have been and decide who we want to be. President Traoré, I have followed your speeches. I have listened to your voice cutting through the noise of global diplomacy. I have heard you say that dignity is not for sale, that sovereignty is not negotiable, and that Africa will no longer kneel to beg for what is rightfully hers. And when I heard those words, something stirred deep within me, not just as a leader, but as a man who understands what it means to inherit the chains of history. Too many nations in the global south have been forced to wear the mask of diplomacy while bleeding silently. Too many have been pressured to accept conditional loans, to bend their knees in multilateral halls, to sign deals that enrich foreign corporations while impoverishing their own children. But what you have done is remind the world that a people willing to endure hardship for their dignity are stronger than empires built on deceit. This is why this moment matters. Because this apology is not only about the past, it is about rewriting the future. It is about building bridges between Africa and the Caribbean that are not dependent on foreign approval. It is about recognizing that we are stronger, not as subjects of global systems, but as architects of our own destiny. Our commitment of $600 million is structured over a 5-year period, not because we wish to control its use, but because we understand the importance of building sustainable, long-term partnerships. It is our hope that this fund will support the infrastructural dreams of Burkina Faso, whether in agriculture, technology, education, or health, wherever your people decide it is most needed. We will provide no oversight, no supervision, no interference. For the first time, we are not seeking to shape your development narrative. We are simply saying, this is yours. I have also instructed that a bilateral reparative development council to be established. Not to dictate, but to listen. This council will be composed equally of Burkinabe and Jamaican voices, traditional leaders, economists, youth representatives, and cultural custodians. Its role will not be to decide for your people, but to ensure that the bridge we build between our two nations is made of trust, not paperwork. Some will question why Jamaica, a small nation grappling with its own challenges, would make such a commitment. They will say we cannot afford it. They will call it reckless, political, unnecessary. But I say to them, what we cannot afford is to continue living in the shadows of historical injustice. What we cannot afford is silence. What we cannot afford is to preach Pan-Africanism in our songs and speeches while doing nothing when Africa stands alone. What we cannot afford is to build a future on a foundation of unresolved history. Our forefathers spoke of unity. Great men and women across our shared histories dreamed of a time when Africa and the Caribbean would stand shoulder to shoulder, not as distant cousins, but as one people with one voice. That dream was delayed, but not dead. It lives in the beating hearts of young people across our nations who no longer want to inherit shame but pride, who no longer want to read about solidarity but to see it in action. President Traoré, today I do not just apologize. I pledge. I pledge that this moment will not end with a speech. It will not end with applause. It will not end with handshakes and photographs. It will continue in trade, in cultural exchange, in education partnerships, in shared development, in standing together on the global stage as equals. Jamaica will stand with Burkina Faso in international forums, not as an observer, but as a defender of your sovereignty. We will speak where others remain silent. We will use our diplomatic voice not as a whisper, but as a megaphone for justice. For too long, nations like ours have waited for others to lead. We have waited for powerful countries to define what justice looks like. But justice, real justice, is not given by the powerful. It is demanded and forged by those who refuse to forget. Today, Jamaica refuses to forget. And I know this. This apology is not the end of the conversation. It is the beginning of a long and necessary journey. A journey that will require honesty, patience, and courage. We will make mistakes along the way. We will stumble, but we will walk this path with humility and sincerity. I stand here as a leader of a nation that once watched the world turn its back on Africa. And I say today, Jamaica will no longer be a bystander. We will not remain on the sidelines of history. We will be part of the chorus that says Africa deserves justice. We will be part of the alliance that builds, not one that exploits. We will be part of the legacy that our children will be proud to inherit. President Traoré, to you personally, I owe a word of respect. You have not only defended your nation, you have inspired millions beyond your borders. You have shown that leadership is not measured by the size of a nation's GDP, but by the courage of its convictions. Your stance has echoed across the Atlantic, reaching the shores of Jamaica, stirring conversations in homes, in universities, in parliaments. You have awakened something powerful, the reminder that dignity is not a privilege, it is a right. This $600 million apology, therefore, is not a gift. It is a debt being acknowledged, a wrong being addressed, a bridge being rebuilt. And I hope that one day, when history books are written, this day will not be remembered for the number, but for the courage to face what many refuse to confront. To the people of Burkina Faso, hear me clearly. Jamaica respects you. Jamaica stands with you. Jamaica sees you not through the lens of Western narratives, but through the lens of shared struggle and shared destiny. May this moment be the beginning of something bigger than two nations. May it be the spark that lights a fire across the global south, a fire that says enough to centuries of exploitation, enough to silence, enough to division. The $600 million commitment is immediate, but its meaning will echo for generations. It will be used to build schools where children will learn their true history, not a colonial fiction. It will support hospitals where your people will heal in dignity. It will strengthen industries that will make Burkina Faso self-sufficient. It will support the dreams of young people who refuse to be defined by poverty, but by possibility. And as we make this commitment, I say to the international community, this is not about guilt, this is about justice. It is not about weakness, it is about strength. It is not about erasing history. It is about facing it head-on with courage. President Traoré, I thank you for receiving this apology with the grace and strength you embody. I thank the people of Burkina Faso for their resilience. I thank my people in Jamaica for supporting a decision that many will not fully understand today, but which future generations will look back on with pride. And I thank the global community watching, because I hope this moment will inspire not just admiration, but action. We are two nations separated by an ocean, but connected by history, pain, struggle, and now purpose. And with this apology, with this commitment, with this renewed bond, we say, let the era of silence end. Let the era of justice begin. Thank you.